Tonight, we're just going to be talking about calendar time in general and the whole kit and caboodle when it comes to calendar time. So I just thought I would run through with you. Well, first, let me start off with a personal story. You know, I like to share little personal stories sometimes to kind of help you all get the point of what I'm trying to say. So let me tell you about this time. I was a student teacher. And I was in college, and our professor gave us an assignment during student teaching, and that assignment was to do a kind of a lesson where the professor would come and observe us. So it was like a formal observation for a student teacher. And we spent time in class brainstorming what topics we were going to do our lessons on, our model lessons or whatever you want to call them. And we spent time together as a group in the library of the university looking at textbooks. They had a library of textbooks there for us. And I student taught in kindergarten because back in the dinosaur days, pre-K did not exist. Public pre-K programs did not exist. So I was student teaching in kindergarten, and I had been in that classroom for a long time because I did my pre-student teaching there. So I was very familiar with the teacher, the routines, and all 32 of the children, because there's no class size cap in Michigan. So I thought I had it down. I decided I was going to do yesterday, today, and tomorrow, because it wasn't going to be, I knew it was important to not break the routine of the kids. And so they did calendar time every day. So I thought, oh, that's perfect. Since we do calendar time every day, I'll do my lesson on yesterday, today, and tomorrow, because that fits naturally with what I'm already going to be doing. And I know I can hold the kids' attention because I hold their attention during calendar time. So let's do this lesson. So I went to the library, I researched it. I had my textbook, my kindergarten textbook. I don't even remember what publisher it was. And I think you all can guess what happens next. So have you ever tried to teach yesterday, today, and tomorrow to a group of 4 and 5-year-olds? Because the cutoff date in Michigan is December 31st. So some of these kids were 4. Well, I was a brand new student teacher. I did not realize this was not a good topic to choose, because as I did my little presentation about yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and I asked the kids to clarify for understanding, a lot of them said, or they said the wrong answer. Like, what's tomorrow? February? You know, they had no idea. It was like whoosh, right over their heads. And my professor had to have known, you know, but we learn best from our own mistakes. So she was totally cool with it. And she was like, that's okay, because this was a great way for you to learn that children don't understand the concept of time. And I was like, well, but it was in the textbook. I mean, this lesson was in the textbook. And she was like, yes, I know it was in the textbook, but what could you do differently? So I came back and I did a lesson on healthy foods, and that went much better. But that was my first realization as a young teacher, that the concept of time is abstract. And any of you who've been joining me every Monday and Wednesday since March of this year, you know that I always, this is like one of my mantras, is that kids learn from the concrete, the real, to the abstract. So if you start over here in the abstract, stuff that they don't understand, that's kind of like out there, like time, they don't get it. You have to start from the concrete, the real, the meaningful, and then you go to the abstract. So that was a really great learning experience for me. I crashed and I burned, and that's the way I learned best. So I understood really quickly that kids did not understand the concept of time in the way that you and I do as adults. So if you're on my mailing list, you may have gotten my email last week. Oops, that reminds me, I forgot to send an email today. You may have gotten my email last week about the birthday labels and the little story I told in there about the kids who always say today is their birthday or tomorrow is their birthday, because anything that happens in the future to a child is tomorrow, and anything that happened in the past was yesterday. It doesn't matter if it was 6 months ago or 11 months ago, it's yesterday and it's tomorrow. They don't have the concept of the passage of time that you and I have as adults. That's an abstract concept that comes later in their stages of development. So now we're all kind of on the same page. So that's my personal story of how I crashed and burned with yesterday, today, and tomorrow during student teaching. But it was a really great lesson to learn. I didn't fail the class, don't worry. My professor gave me another chance. It was a great learning experience. So what we learned is that it has to be meaningful to the kids. So another thing that a lot of you out there in Cyberland probably already know, out there in Facebook land, is that there's a lot of debate around calendar time. And it's something that we have done in early childhood for years and years and years. As I said, we were doing calendar time in my kindergarten classroom when I was a student teacher, and it was something that teacher had been doing for a long time. So it was just something that we did. And I quickly realized that, and this was just me, I quickly realized that in order to get kids to pay attention to this abstract concept of calendar, that I had to make it really fun, engaging, and meaningful. So I never had any problems with calendar time. So to me, I focused on other aspects of it, and that was great. But there was always this part of my mind in the back that was like, but why are we doing it if it's an abstract concept? Why am I taking this time away from the valuable short amount of time I have with my kids each day? Why am I taking this time to do this thing that they don't really get, you know? And so I would do other things like colors and shapes and songs and movement and all that great stuff. And I never had a problem with attention during calendar time, but it really just didn't sit right with me. So then I was in a district where we had a mandatory calendar program that everyone had to use pre-K through 5th grade. It was mandatory and you had to follow it. And if you followed that program the way it was written, every single day in pre-K 4 was a 30-minute lesson. There's like no way you could take that kind of time out of the day, that valuable learning time where kids could be expanding their vocabulary, interacting. So anyway, it's not meaningful to kids. Traditional calendar is not meaningful to kids, okay? So I wrapped my brain around that. And for a long time I said, well, I don't have a problem with calendar. It always goes really well for me. My kids enjoy it. They learn from it. But that's because I was really not doing calendar time. I was doing fun and interactive, engaging songs and activities, you know. I really wasn't doing calendar time. I didn't expect mastery of the months and the days and the numbers. My kids could usually only identify like the number maybe 1 on the first day of school. So doing the calendar really was a waste of time, especially in the beginning of the year when they didn't recognize many numbers at all. And then your calendar, if you see this one behind me, it's got a return sweep on it. So when you get to the end of the row, right, you come back, and that line break that you see in text and in calendars and things like that, that's not natural to kids. You know, they don't understand, why do we go back that way? So then the numbers would break. You would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you go over 8, 9, 10, 11. And you're trying to teach them the linear progression of numbers on a calendar with a line break. I mean, it didn't make sense. So I just really didn't focus on any of that stuff. I didn't expect mastery, and it worked for me. But research, you know, if you know me and you've watched any of my webinars, I have several webinars available to the public. You know that I'm all about research-based learning strategies. So as I read more about the research and listen to more of my colleagues talk about calendar time and what they thought about it. And 2 of those colleagues, Deborah at teachpreschool.org, if you haven't followed her yet, she has some great information on calendar time and how she does it in her classroom. And then Karen from prekinders.com also has a great post on making calendar time meaningful. So you might want to check out those 2 also for inspiration on calendar time. But here's what I know. I know that I can't spend 30 minutes of the precious time that I have with kids on an abstract concept that's not developmentally appropriate for them. They're not going to retain the concept of time any more quickly if I focus on it, right? Every day for 30 minutes, if I focus on an abstract concept, the kids are not developmentally ready to understand that I've wasted their time and I've wasted my time. So everyone's time has been wasted, and time is very precious when you're in the early childhood classroom. So that's what I took away from the whole thing, was we don't have that kind of time to waste, okay? So anything that they can't see, touch, or feel, hear, or smell is considered an abstract concept for little kids, right? So when we talk about, today is Tuesday, March, whatever, they hear wah, 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 Charlie Brown's teacher. That doesn't mean anything to them. So you can say it all you want, and you can get them to repeat it. Sure, they can memorize the days of the week, and yes, they can memorize the months of the year. But without a true understanding, that's wasted time. So yes, you can get them to memorize just about anything. My kids had to recite the pledge every day in public school, and they all memorized it. But usually it sounded a little more like this: I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to they didn't understand any of the words, and to the republic for which it stands. They did not know any of that stuff. So they memorized it, and they made a good mouth movements and mimicking of some of the words, but they did not understand the concept of the pledge. So if we use that valuable time to teach abstract concepts, is that beneficial to kids? And my answer, I always came back to, was no, it's not valuable time. So I'm not with the school district anymore, so I can say that. So that's great. It feels great. Wah! Okay. And quite often, people that are involved in the decision-making process are not always the best informed about early childhood education and the research and all that stuff. So they're good at being managers, or maybe a specific thing like being a principal or administrator, but not specifically always in early childhood. So this concept may be new to them too. So feel free to share this broadcast with any of those folks that you know. So one thing that I do know about little kids is that they understand things when you say like first. They all understand first, right? I want to be first. First is better, right? In their little opinion. They understand first. They understand next. They understand before, later. If you say we're going to go out to recess later and then you forget, they won't let you forget, because they understand that later means not now. Or you know how when you're in a car with a little kid and they always say, are we there yet? 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 Because they don't understand the passage of time. So I had a little girl once. This is kind of a sad story, but I'll make it not so sad. She walked herself to school at the age of 4, which is horrific by itself. But we wanted her to be at school because that's where she was fed, and that's where she was clothed, and that's where she was taken care of. So we asked her how she knew when she thought it was time to come to school, and she said when a certain program was over on TV. It was like a Sesame Street type program. So we taught her that as soon as this particular program was over, that it was time for school, and she was to call somebody to take her to school. So she understood that. That she understood. That worked for her because she understood that it's this amount of time that her show takes to be finished, to go from the start to the end. That was when she got the concept of, oh, that's when I should come to school. But the concept of 8 o'clock didn't make any sense to her. So here's what I know. So you can see behind me my little calendar. I'm going to show it to you. This is my daily schedule, and we're on the selfie cam, so I know these words are backwards, and I'm sorry, but that's the way Facebook works now. So in order for me to see your comments, I have to have the camera facing me, so that makes the text appear backwards. So this is my daily schedule back here. Now I have, Tom will drop a link to these. They're available in my store. There's tons of different ones there that you can actually customize with your own words if these words don't meet your needs or your language. And this is an oil drip pan. Okay, so we don't need a huge gigantic wall for calendar time or circle time or whatever you want to call it. We don't need a huge gigantic area. Because there shouldn't be a whole lot of accessories that go with it. So this is an oil drip pan. An oil drip pan goes underneath a car, like in your garage if you're going to do your own oil change. I just know this because that's what I've been told. So this is a big pan. You can see it's fairly large. I think this is the 47-inch one. And I've attached it to the wall with heavy-duty command strips, the kind that stick together almost like Velcro, but not Velcro because command and Velcro aren't the same product. They stick together like that, and then one side sticks to the wall. So I've got heavy-duty command strips on the back of the oil drip pan. And then I attached it to the wall. So technically, I'm supposed to be able to take this off the wall by pulling on the command strips after I take the oil pan off, so it won't take off any paint or harm the wall in any way. I don't know if that's really going to work or not, because I've had some command strips that haven't worked in the past, but we're gonna play it that way. You could spray paint this oil drip pan, but in my experience with spray painted metal, it will eventually chip off with heavy use. And since this gets heavy use, I would not spray paint this. Maybe there's a sealer or a lacquer I could put on it, but I just wasn't even gonna go there. Okay, so this is magnetic, okay? And I was used to using a magnetic whiteboard in my classroom, so this works really well. So I printed the daily schedule, this picture schedule that you see behind me, on Avery magnetic sheets. Avery is, you know, they make labels and stuff. Well, they also make magnetic paper. And I've used this magnetic paper for years and years. It runs through your printer. So I printed my daily schedule off on the magnetic paper. And then I cut it out, and now it's up here. So I can change this schedule around. If we have something extra to put in here, or I need to take something out because we, you know, stayed at the playground longer or whatever. So this is the daily schedule. And then over here on the side, I have this little happy face magnet. I think I got it at the Dollar Tree, as I get many things, right? And as we transition to each different part of our day, I move the little magnet down. So you can move it, you can move your magnet, if you can see that right there, but I move it down. But it's not, this isn't decoration. So one thing we know about the calendar is that little kids understand sequence of events when you have pictures. And really, calendar time is all about a sequence of events, right? First Monday, then Tuesday, then Wednesday, you know, January, February, March. These are all patterns. These are all sequence of events. So the daily calendar is, or the daily schedule is a sequence of events. First, we start with circle time. Then we have small group. We end, the last thing we do is get our backpack. Do you see how that progresses? And you could totally take pictures of your kids to make your own schedule. You don't have to have a printable one like this, but you could still print it on that magnet paper if you want to use magnet board. So as we transition, I move the little marker down. Now I've done this in a pocket chart before and then used a clothespin to move it down as well. So that's one thing. So if your goal during calendar time or circle time or whatever it is to have kids understand the passage of time or the sequence of events, then a picture schedule like this can be helpful. Okay, so yes, it's going to help them understand like before, next, what comes next. We only have, a lot of times I'll say things like, well, we only have 3 more things before we have to, you know, before we go home, if they're feeling anxious. This kind of schedule, picture schedule, has a lot of benefits. Can you laminate the magnetic paper? No, it's really not very thick. And laminating it doesn't really work, but I've used it for years and years, and not this particular set, but I've used the magnetic paper for a long time. I think I started using it in 2001, and I have never had a problem with it. My kids don't go up and move the pictures around. They're not going to really be touching it. So really, I'm the only one who moves the pictures. I do eventually have the kids move the little marker down, but the kids don't move the pictures. So you could have a separate set just on paper that you laminate and keep in a pocket chart, and that would maybe satisfy their need to move the cards, as long as they knew it wasn't the official schedule, right? All right. So another thing about calendar or circle time or whatever you want to call it is, and one thing I always like to say is, kids have attention spans that are about this big, right? Their attention spans are about as big as they are. They're tiny. They have short attention spans. That's natural. And if you try to stretch that attention span before it's ready, it will snap. And what will break loose, right? So you have to gradually stretch their attention spans. It's almost like filling up a gas tank, right? When you're doing circle times, calendar time, whatever you want to call it, and let's say they start their day with a tank of gas or patience or attention or whatever you want to call it, their gas mileage is really poor. And so they will run out of gas before you're done if you're taking too long. So you have to be able, it's like you have to have an imaginary gas gauge in front of you to gauge where they are in their ability, their attention span, right? And if they are starting to lose interest, you speed up a little bit to get to that gas station more quickly, to go to your next activity. You're going to adjust things as you see it. So kids have a short attention span. So having a really lengthy, bulky circle time or calendar time, whatever you're going to call it, is going to cause problems for everybody. And then I'm going to refer you back to those 3 broadcasts I talked about earlier, where we talk about 7 tips for reading aloud, how to help kids who interrupt, and what was the third one? There's 3. How to get kids to pay attention. So I'm going to refer you back to those 3 broadcasts. Okay, so back to the circle time or calendar time behind me. This idea here, see if you can see this. This comes from Karen at Pre-Kinders, and she has a post called Making Calendar Time Meaningful. And this idea is Karen's idea, so I want to give her credit. This is a little desk calendar. Yeah, it's bigger than 8.5 by 11, but it's not huge. You can see it in comparison to my head here. And each day, to mark the passage of time, you can just have the kids cross one off. And the purpose of this whole thing that we're doing during calendar time or circle time or whatever you want to call it is just to get kids to understand that time passes and to make a connection to real life, right? To make a connection to real life. So your daily schedule is real life. These are events they take part in every single day. In each day that passes, you can mark one off the calendar, because that's kind of what we do in real life. This might be the kind of calendar they recognize in real life. But that one with little pictures of the apples and all the numbers on it and all that, that's not real life. That's like cartoony, right? So another thing, so this is Karen's idea right here. Then behind me, I'm going to scoot over a little bit. You might be able to see, and my Post-it notes fell off. Another thing that I like, I need to find some better Post-it notes. I guess they don't stick well to oil drip pans. Is each day, I want them to see the linear progression of the days, right? Because we talked about the unnatural breaks in the calendar. I want them to see the linear progression. So each day I'm going to invite some child up to put a Post-it note in order here. And I had some others here and they fell down. So each day that we come to school, we put another Post-it note up. Now what happens on Monday? I know that's your first question because you've been gone for 2 days. So you can do it a couple of ways. You can say, well, we were not here on Saturday and Sunday, so today so-and-so is going to come up and he or she is going to put 3 up there. A lot of times what I would do is I would just put 2 more up there and then they would come up because they didn't understand why so-and-so was putting up 3. So that they can see how this grows in progression. You could also write the numbers on there, but like I said, they're not going to be recognizing many numbers, and especially in the beginning of the year, above, a 1 or 2 or 3 or something, and certainly not all the way up to 31 like we are in October right now. So just a Post-it note up here for each one of those to show the linear progression, because the calendar has those unnatural breaks in it. So this doesn't take but more than a couple of seconds, right? So you're going to do your thing, right? You're going to use your little picture schedule. They come in and you gather them on the carpet, and what we're going to do is establish a routine and a procedure and kind of build community at the same time, right? We're going to establish a connection with those kids. And so one of the ways I do that is by starting every day with a song. Now there's a million songs out there. You choose the one that works best for you. I've always used, or for many years I've used, Rise and Shine by Dr. Jean. You can find her at drjean.org, but I love Rise and Shine. So we start the day with Rise and Shine. You don't have to have the music. You can sing it. It's an old Girl Scout song from way back when. just has some of the words changed up. So we always start the day with that song, kind of build community, kind of let the kids know that we're ready to start our day. We talk about where we are on our daily schedule and what's going to come next. After this is over, we're going to do small group. And we're going to mark the passage of time on the calendar by, I'm going to call a kid up, and that kid is going to mark that off on the calendar. And I give them a pen. Yes, I trust them with a Sharpie or a Crayola black marker, because they're doing this with me in front of the group. They get to use a big person Sharpie. It's cool. Everyone's cool. They're not going to be shoving it up their nose because I'm right there. And then that same kid can put one Post-it on the line. Now my Post-its have fallen down here. And to mark the linear progression. You might also notice my pockets back here. These are library pockets, and I have just attached magnets to the back of them. Okay, so on the back of this library pocket, these are actually business cards, the kind you get like from businesses that want to promote their, give you their phone number and stuff, like our plumber and things like that. So I had all these old business cards that I had collected over the years, and I turned them over and hot glued them to the back of my library pockets. And these are our helpers, So we just move these little name cards. These are the name cards, and we put them in the pockets. And Tom will drop a link to the classroom helpers in the comments for you there as well. And I'll add these links to the top when we're done tonight. So we just can move the name cards to the different pockets each day. The number of helpers you have is up to you, or perhaps mandated by your program, depending on where you work. But there are tons of helpers, more than enough for any classroom of kids to have one helper for everything that you have in your classroom. I just have a few, but some of those jobs are their favorite. Little kids love to be the meteorologist, because that meteorologist tells us about the weather, and they get to look out the window and let us know what the weather is doing. And behind me here I have a little weather graph. It's nothing fancy. It doesn't print out. And this is just actually another magnet sheet, only this one, this came from the local dollar store. It's just a magnet sheet, but it's shiny. It's got dry erase on it. I don't use the Sharpie on that. I have a dry erase marker for that. And we can also invite a child up to chart the weather. I don't do it for a whole month. Little kids don't understand the passage of time in a whole month, and also that's a lot of data to collect and analyze, so we just do it every week. So you can actually invite a child to draw the picture of what it is. So this is Texas though, so I need to get a longer piece of magnetic paper, because the sunny will just go all the way down. We're not going to, the snowy one over here, we're not going to get a lot on the chart there. Not a lot of variation in weather here. We may have cloudy, we may have sunny, but that's just about it. And a little bit of rain, but anyway. But on this chart here, that I've just drawn by hand, no kids were harmed because I drew by hand. I'm not an artist, and that's okay, because kids think I am. I just drew a little picture to represent each aspect, basic aspect of the weather. I'm not going to get into the whole partly cloudy, partly sunny, chance of rain. I'm just going to do your basics. Sunny, cloudy, rainy, snowy, because snow is always exciting here in Texas. And then I just used my dry erase marker. This one actually has a magnet on it. It came with, I think it came with this little thing here. And it has an eraser on it too, so if I need to erase anything, I can. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to actually look at the data at the end of the week and count up how many sunny days, how many cloudy, rainy, and snowy. And we're going to look at which column has more. And of course, in Texas, it's always going to be sunny. And which column has less, and how many more would the other column need to equal this column. So we're looking at our data, we're analyzing it, we're counting, we're comparing, we're doing all kinds of great math stuff. We can also count the days. I wouldn't count them on the calendar because of the line breaks. But so this is our classroom helpers. This is our picture schedule. This is from Pre-Kinders. Karen at Pre-Kinders, her making calendar time meaningful, I think, something like that. And then this is the weather chart, and then I'm going to scoot over here and see if you can't see. I'm sitting on the floor. um, who is here today. So whenever I'm just going to move this over a little bit so you can see it. Or maybe I should move the camera. There we go. Okay, so every day when they come in, and these are not real students because we don't share pictures of real students on the internet. So these are fake students. These are real names but different pictures. So they can put their, and these again, this is that magnetic paper. And what you can do with that is you can have them tell you whether they're at school or at home. And this is a great way for kids to sign in at the beginning of the day. You know how you want them to let you know that they're there. You want some way to kind of take attendance, but not early. But it's a part of a routine and a procedure that you're setting up. So when they enter the classroom, I have these little cards available for them on a table, or you can have a pocket chart or something. They take them out and they put them, and I would actually probably use my pen to draw a line down the middle here. And they put their picture under the school or the home. And poor Pablo here, I forgot to make his first letter red. But because he's not real, that's okay. And so they're going to put their little pictures under here to let me know if they're at school or at home. And then we can count them up. So let's see how many of us are here at school today. Let's count them. Can you help me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of us are here at school today. Now, I'm sure you have more kids than that in your class, but you get the idea. And how many of us are at home? Oh, Pablo's at home today. We missed him. Let's count. 1. So we have 5 kids that are here at school today and 1 that's at home. And which column has more? Which one has more? So I would ask them about that. And this one has less. Yeah, there's fewer here. And if we wanted that number, one thing kids love to do, and this doesn't happen too often, but every now and then you'll get even numbers. Like when the flu goes around, and when you get even numbers, the kids go crazy. They're like, oh, those numbers are the same. Like the day before a holiday sometimes when a lot of kids take off and you have even numbers in both columns, they get so excited. They're like, and I'll write the number at the bottom with my marker and circle them. And they're like, oh, those are the same. So anyway, this is something they can do when they come to school in the morning to kind of establish a routine and a procedure. There's a whole greeting thing that I do too, and I won't get into that because that's not part of the calendar time. But this is it in a nutshell, you guys. This is it. Like they would put their names up here and then I would go over this really quickly. You could even chunk this out to your math time because that's math too. Right? And I would just go over that really quickly, or you could chunk that out to your math time, but I would do this little weather and I would do this little calendar. You can go over the helpers if you want, but I find, I'm sitting on the floor. I find that, that once they put their card in there, that they kind of know for the week where they are once you get your routine established. And then when we're done with our circle time, I am going to sing a little song and move my clip. Now, I'm also going to sing songs in there. And I'm also going to read a story in there. I didn't do that for you tonight because I have that 7 tips for reading aloud video that you can watch. So I'm going to read a story in there and I'm going to sing several songs. So I sang the Good Morning song. I didn't sing it to you, but I told you about it. And then I would probably, after that, jump right into the calendar and the linear progression of numbers. And then I would do, oh, I forgot to show you this. I'll show that to you in a second. And then I would do another song. So whatever songs that your kids are familiar with, a finger play. Oh, I should have given you a link to Dr. Jean's finger play webinar that we did. It's here on the Facebook page. So I would do a finger play or a song, something that gets them moving, gets them up and moving their body, moving their feet, their hands. They're listening with their ears. They're singing with their mouth. They're moving their hands. They're moving their feet. Get them active and engaged. So as soon as I'm finished with this, I would do a song. And then I would do the little calendar thing and the number line. I would read my story, then maybe come back to the weather. Because if you do these things without Any movement in between, you're going to get stuck. And when I do weather, we always sing another song. So I've got at least 3 songs in this short little brief thing that we did. This is the part I forgot to show you. So when we're doing the who's here and who's not thing, if you have, now I would use 2 cookie trays if you have 20 kids. If you have more than 20 kids, then you might need 3 cookie trays or not do it at all. But because I don't have a lot of kids, for each kid that's here, you can make this cookie sheet 10 frame. And this is just colored masking tape on a cookie sheet from the dollar store. And then I had a bunch of these little people magnets. I just had a bunch of these laying around. I collected them over the years. They still have the price tag on. Look, Marcia. And for each child that's here, and you can have the kids help you do this, for each child that's here, they can put 1 in the 10 frame, and now you can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people are here today. How many more people would we need to fill our 10 frame? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is another thing that you can do, and you can put, I just put this right below my calendar because there's perfect space below it for this cookie sheet to sit. So that's another thing that you could do really quickly, and to get the kids engaged and involved, they could put their little person there. So you could pass those out to the kids. Now, if you have 22 kids, you can't afford 22 magnet men, but for a smaller class, that totally works. And then as soon as I'm done with all that, I'll do moving of the little clip there. Does that make sense, you guys? I hope so. I'm going to move a little closer so I can see the comments. So basically what we're doing is building a community, establishing a routine and a procedure, getting kids engaged and involved, and understanding, not understanding, but introducing them to the passage of time in a meaningful way. That's what it's all about. This is my oil drip pan behind me. Everything on there is attached magnetically. The oil drip pan is attached to the wall with 3M command strips. These are my library pockets that I use for my daily helpers. And I printed all of these things off on Avery magnet sheets. Okay, so let me move in. I swear, this is crazy. I like that idea with the tin and the heart, Kelly. That's really cool. People magnets, she got, Jotham got them from Really Good Stuff. The magnetic 10 frame, Lauren likes that idea. I use it for a lot of things, Lauren. Yes, I've been in an open concept school before, Debbie, and it's not fun. Yes, it is not fun. I tried to stagger my activities with the other group. So one of the things we did was we didn't use any recorded music during our times when we were apart. You know, when our other groups in our area were doing their calendar time. We didn't use any recorded music. We only used our voices. And then at the end of the day, we all came together and we did some songs with music at the end of the day. That way we weren't disrupting each other. Jennifer likes the 10 frame magnet tray. Jotham uses the boys and the girls in the T-chart. I'm glad you like it, Renee. I did not go to the same training. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I have had, Kara, I've had as many as 30 kids in the classroom at a time with no help, to as few as 6 kids at a time. Linear calendar. Yes, I've heard of that. Why do you put little stickies under the job pockets? Oh, those are the Post-it notes for the linear progression of time, Cindy. So you're going to want to go back and watch this from the beginning. Hey. Yes, so if they can take their name cards out. So what happens is they put their names in a pocket. So they know where their name is because they put it there. Let's see. Are the date? Yes, I put those up there because the calendar that I got from the dollar store. She was asking about these at the top here. I got this at the dollar store, and I guess in other countries they start their week on a Monday, And so the days didn't match. So I put Post-it notes up there because I was like, we start on a Sunday, and I couldn't read the calendar. So I did that. I put the Post-it notes up there. Jennifer says her kids also love the Rise and Shine song. Wanda has switched to the desktop calendar. She says it's one of the best things she's done. That's great, Wanda. Brenda, can we not promote our other products during the webinar or during the broadcast? Thanks. Yes, Kim, totally. Totally. You know what I did one year, Kim? Kim says she breaks it up to shorter periods of a time. She calls it calendar time and weather time. I've totally done that. So here's what I did. Weather is technically science, right? So I put weather during my science time, or I called weather my science time. And I put the question of the day or the sign in, whatever you call it, during math time. So we were still doing this. We had weather during science time. We were still doing all those things, but they were broken up into much shorter chunks, and it worked so much better. Yeah, everything's backwards. Hi, Catherine from South Australia. How do you get some of your information from a circle training session? I don't know what that means. Hi, Stephanie. Stephanie, I wouldn't do that with threes. I wouldn't do this with 3-year-olds. This would be for my pre-K students. Those are kids who are going to kindergarten next year. Threes, I would just be reading the story. And you can totally sing songs. You can do that. And you can also have them find their name around the room. But I wouldn't do really any of this with a 3-year-old. So pre-K is the year before they go to kindergarten. Okay, we talked about that. Not laminating that Avery paper. That doesn't work. Yes, Lori, the picture schedule helps them see how you move through the day. Hi, Graciela from Brazil. Jennifer has a great book about the Pledge of Allegiance. Check that out. Lori says the daily schedule has been a lifesaver for my students. They've had a hard time with drop-off. That is great, Lori. I so agree. Amber says you can get that magnetic paper at Hobby Lobby. I did not know that, Amber. I actually usually Walmart has it, but my Walmart was sold out. I went to 2 Walmarts and I couldn't find it, so I had to order it online. Let's see. Walmart has the oil drip. Yes, they do. I put a link in here just in case people didn't understand what it was, so they can actually take a screenshot of that and take it to Walmart. Don't ask the people in Walmart where it is, though, because they don't know where anything is. Amber says that's how she hangs hers on the wall, too. Very cool. Let's see. She always teaches the concept of why we say the pledge and what it means. That's great. Hey, good morning in Taiwan. I would totally skip teaching the days of the week, months of the year, because it's an abstract concept, and kids learn from the concrete to the abstract. And so the concept of months of the year and days of the week doesn't make any sense to them. And that's another reason why I don't do like, earn a marble in a jar and do a party on Friday. Because if it's Monday, they don't know when Friday's going to be. And they have no idea on Friday why they're having the party or whatever it is. The concept is too abstract for them. So totally, I would not. We have a lot of people in here tonight who know each other. I know, Veronica, it was sad. 30 minutes was a waste of time. Veronica says she had a birthday in her class today and everyone was saying their birthday was tomorrow. Yes. Always. Never fails. 20 years. And I've never had a kid who didn't say, my birthday's tomorrow too. Hey, Vanessa from Ohio. Wonderful. Hey, guys. Pen ready for note-taking, says Ellie. Well, don't forget, you can always go back and watch the replay. Yes, Cindy, you can go back and watch all the Facebook videos right here on Facebook. So if you're watching me right now, you're probably on my Facebook page. So if you go up to the top and you click where it says pre-K pages and it shows the 2 little kids sitting there, the little banner underneath. If you click on that, you go to my Facebook page, and there should be a section for videos. It's probably a little harder to find on mobile, but it's there, and you can watch all of the past broadcasts all the way back, going back to March. Yes, and Tom has given you, I think he's given you a link there. Vicki says that she thinks calendar can be a great teaching tool, and I so agree. I mean, for many years, I used it to teach other things, but it never helped teach kids. Calendar time never helped teach them the passage of time, because they can't understand the concept of time passing. So that's another reason I don't use clocks. Like, I see a lot of these daily schedules with clocks on them, and I'm like, yeah, that's like speaking Chinese to somebody. They don't, unless you're in Taiwan, in which case maybe it makes sense. But the clocks, yeah, that's just, if you need to use them for yourself to keep yourself on time, that's one thing. But the clocks don't help the kids, because a clock is an abstract concept, just like the plus sign and the minus sign and the equal sign and the time sign. The clock is an abstract concept, so that's not going to be of any help at all. It's actually just going to clutter up your walls and add to the confusion. So, but I used to use the calendar time as a time to teach other things, to sing songs and build community and stuff like that. But it really was just artificial and contrived, and wasted my time when I could have been spending more time doing one-on-one instruction, small groups, play, all the things that kids need and love. Hey, yay, I see a lot of people from the teaching tribe in here. Oh my goodness, I've been babbling on for so long. I hope that you all got some ideas that you can take back and use in your classrooms or in your programs. Feel free to share this broadcast with anybody who is in the field of early childhood education, anybody who's conflicted about calendar time, has questions about calendar time, any administrators, anybody that you'd like to share it with. You can do that by tapping on the screen, liking or sharing the broadcast, tagging your friends in the comments, anything like that. So if you think it would be helpful, go ahead and do that. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I hope that you got some information that you can take back and use in your classroom. Lori says the clock is for administrators to make sure you're on schedule. Well, if the administrators need a clock to make sure that you're on schedule, then that administrator does not understand early childhood, because we can never be on schedule. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for coming. Thank you to all the Teaching Tribe members who showed up tonight. Thank you so much. I'm Vanessa Levin from Pre-K Pages. This is a regularly scheduled broadcast every Monday and Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And the Teaching Tribe is my membership site for teachers just like you, teachers of preschool, pre-K, Head Start, childcare, in-home childcare, faith-based programs, you name it, where members have access 24/7 to all the printables at Pre-K Pages with a retail value of $730. As well as 2 trainings a month with me, each worth 1 hour certificate of attendance, and a supportive community of new and veteran teachers, a safe haven for asking and answering questions. We're having some contests over there this month. We're closed to new members right now, but put your name on the waiting list and you'll be notified as soon as we open registration back up. Yay! Thanks, Jennifer.